Hey, KADs. My name is Giovann V, and in 1 month, I've won 1,000 battles in Pokemon TCG Pocket app with $0 spent. I know what you're probably thinking. How is that even possible? Does he have a job? Does he have healthy relationships? Why is there so many plushies behind him? Those are valid questions. I'm not going to answer any of them for you. What I am going to do in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what I learned by winning with multiple combinations of decks. I'm going to go through deck building 101. I'm going to go through what's meta and anti meta. And I'm also going to go through tips and strategies I learned to become more consistent. At the end of the video, I'm also going to show you a custom build that I did that has two different energies, no EXs, but can still beat top tier decks. So, like I said, stay tuned for the end of the video. Welcome to the channel. My name is Giovann V, and I am the final gym leader in your region. Let's get into it. All right, part one, deck building. You can name this section A. What's your energy theme, right?
Wow.
Dramatic effect. What's your energy theme? So I think the first thing you need to prioritize is getting one energy that you want to use and centralizing the entire deck around that one energy. I have seen some pros do some hybrid energy stuff where they have two different energies going through the deck. I just think the game's not developed enough. I don't think there's enough cards to make dual energy typings consistent enough to keep winning. So for now, just focus on using one energy, starting with that, and just getting the hang of the game until you can start winning. And then from there, you can move on to another energy type. Section B, which Pokemon lines and how many? So naturally, especially when I first started playing the game,
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
So when I first started playing the game, I had a shiny toy effect, right? So I wanted a Blastoise, I wanted a Starmie, I wanted an Articuno, I wanted a Greninja, I wanted everything in my deck, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna wash my opponent, literally. Then I pretty quickly learned that I was drowning in L's myself, so I had to change what I was doing with my deck build. So think of it like this: if you have a single line, let's say of Squirtle, Wartortle, Blastoise, you're going to just randomly pull Blastoise during the game. That's what happens. If you have a double line, which is doubles of each copy of Squirtle, Wartortle, Blastoise, now the deck starts creating a theme and it starts creating a focus of getting Blastoise out there more consistently. That's very important when you start centralizing around the Pokemon that you actually care about and having other Pokemon be kind of like a second string, if you will, right? Like kind of like the bench warmers. So that is the second thing you have to really prioritize is just understanding how many of each card do you want, how often do you want to see that card come out, and once you know that, then your Pokemon are starting to get developed in the deck. Pro tip. Okay, so throughout the video, I'm going to introduce pro tips, just things that have come to me that I just think are going to be useful for each section. I'm using a blue shell because I got this from Japan, and I think if you're a winner, you see this a lot, and if you don't win a lot, you don't know what this is, and that's okay. That's why you're here. You want to know what this is. Okay, so for all the winners, a pro tip for this section is for Pokemon evolution lines. From what I started and what I know now, if you gave me two options for decks and you said option A has a single line of Blastoise, a single line of Greninja, and doubles of Starmie, that would be a deck that I might have considered when I started. Now I would never take that deck. If option B is a double line of Blastoise and a double line of Starmie, I'm always going to go with that deck. Why? Because I'm consistently getting my plan A, my plan B. I'm consistently getting cards. I'm consistently getting my final evolution out there. That's a lot more useful because when you have too many evolution lines in one deck, what it does is it dilutes the theme of your deck, and what it does is it just gives you a bunch of cards that don't match up with each other, and I call it brick hands. You know, it's like like literally, like you're just carrying a brick in your hands, and you're like, okay, your turn, and you don't do anything. There's no progression in the game.
Stop it. Get some help.
So you're better off having more centralized themes and less variety. That way you can get the game going for yourself. Part 1, Section C. What archetype is your deck becoming? There are 3 main archetypes that help define the rest of your deck. Now, if you don't know what an archetype is a combination of cards that work together, that synchronize together to create a common game plan or theme. So the way I've defined it is each archetype is based on the pace of your deck. So the first theme or first archetype is offensive rushdown. These are fast-paced decks that just go rapid fire. The second archetype is defensive stall. These are the types of decks that like to drag out the game and go for much longer to try to win. And the final archetype is balanced. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's right in the middle. It can do offensive, it can go defensive. It's more of a middle ground. It can do either or. Okay, so what I'm going to do is actually define with examples for each archetype. So in my 1,000 win run, I saw these examples the most. For offensive rushdown, I saw Pikachu, I saw Articuno with Starmie, and I saw Mewtwo. Those are the most consistent because they're just basic Pokemon that come out. They don't need a lot of energy. They don't need a lot of buildup. They just get going and they do big damage. The second archetype is more defensive stall. I was seeing a lot of Koga with Wigglytuff or Koga Wheezing combination because you're doing poison, you're doing sleep, and it drags out the game very much. Another example of that archetype is also Venusaur. Venusaur heals a lot, so it takes a while to get going, but once it's going, it just heals the game so long that you can't defeat it.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
Okay, so those are the second group of examples. And the third one being balanced is more, I'm seeing a lot of Charizard with Moltres just because it's a slow, long evolution line buildup. But once it gets going, it's extremely offensive. So it's actually one of the strongest in the game because of that. So those are the 3 examples. Those are the 3 archetypes. No matter what deck you're making, based on the amount of energies, based on the amount of evolution lines you need to make the deck work, that's when you can start categorizing your deck to figuring out which one of these 3 archetypes are you in. Okay, once you understand this, you can finalize the most important part of your deck building, which is trainer cards. Part 1, Section D, the final section of deck building, which trainer cards and how many. At the end of the day, the trainer cards you use are so important because they can pivot the entire flow of the game. Which archetype you are using is going to determine which cards you use to round out your deck. So for example, if you're using a Venusaur deck, the name of the game is Survive. So specifically in Venusaur decks, you're going to have 2 Ericas, which heal 50 HP, 2 potions that heal 20 HP, and you're going to have all 4 of those cards in there. Why? Because once Venusaur is up and running, you're going to be consistently feeding it healing so that it can drag out the game and win it for you. Now, on the complete opposite spectrum, when you go to Articuno with Misty and Starmie, the name of the game is Super Rushdown, right? It's offensive rushdown. So because it's that archetype, you're going to want 2 Misties so you can slap on energies as fast as possible. You're going to want even a red card because what that does is it causes chaos and offensive pressure. So it's just different trainer cards are going to suit each deck based on the type of pace and type of deck style that you're running. So it doesn't have to necessarily be one of these 2 decks, but these ideas and these concepts that fit these decks relate to the deck that you're making for yourself. Pro tip. The best decks always have 2 Pokeballs, 2 Professor's Research, 1 to 2 X Speeds, and 1 to 2 Sabrinas. These are just pivotal parts of the deck. You need them. It doesn't matter what else you do with the deck. You always make sure those are in the deck. Deck. How many times can I say deck?
Shut up, Duck.
Anyways, those are the most important parts. Wait, is that another? Pro tip number 2. Once you understand the style of your deck, outside of the ones that I just mentioned, to round out the deck and to finish it off, you're going to want to use Lieutenant Surge, Giovanni, Erica, Blaine, Koga, Potion, and Red Card. Those are the only other cards I would utilize. Everything else is fluff. Everything else is unnecessary. I mean, the worst cards easily are Brock, Hand Scope, Pokédex. Even the fossils are pretty questionable. Again, these are cards that you draw and it doesn't cause any progression in the game for you. It's a little bit of a, it's kind of gimmicky, It's like I've never lost to somebody who says, "Oh, to finish off the game, I'm going to check to see what your hand is." And then I'm just sitting here like, "I'm going to destroy you." And then they're like, "Oh, okay, great. Well, I'm going to now look at the top 5 cards of my own deck that are coming up. But I'm not going to draw any of them. I'm just going to look at them. Okay, I end my turn."
I'm funny.
It's like, dude, just concede. Like, the game is over. There's no point of looking at all these cards. Like, do something. Okay, so those are my 2 pro tips. Hopefully that helps. Congratulations. You officially finished deck building part 1. Now we are on part 2, the meta and the anti-meta, which is actually where I thrive. And I'll go more into that in a second. So as far as meta, what a meta is, in case you don't know, meta is the best decks or strategies that are in a current game format. As far as current meta, the current meta is Rushdown. Offensive Rushdown is the best archetype meta currently in the format. With a little bit of balance, I'd say balance has one deck that does very well, but that's more commonly what we're seeing. Anti-meta is exactly what it sounds like. It's the less commonly used decks that are designed specifically to target and take down the top meta decks. They can't win everything, but they can win specifically these matchups because they're custom designed. So let's go into the best decks for both. Part 2, Section A, the meta. Bum, bum, bum. That's how toxic the meta. I can feel the toxicity of the meta. Okay, so the meta, this is what it is. So top 3 that I learned from laddering. Pikachu EX is extremely good. The reason for that is that it's a basic Pokemon. It's 2 energies and it's just a full bench. That's all it needs. And it's very easy to do. And all of a sudden it's popping 90 damage, 90 damage, 90 damage. Not a lot of retreat cost. And ground fighting is just not good. So it can run through the entire game without any super effective damage hitting it back. So that's very good. That's the main reason why it's doing so well in tournaments. The second meta deck, in no particular order, by the way, is Mewtwo. Mewtwo is super good because, again, same thought of offensive rushdown. It's a basic Pokemon. It only needs 2 energies to do damage, and if you can get the bench moving correctly as far as evolving, it can charge up a 4 energy, 150 damage, close to wiping out the entire cast of cards and Pokemon in one shot, which is extremely strong, extremely centralizing, and it doesn't need anything else. It's actually one of the smaller decks as far as Pokemon. And the last one is a balanced deck. It's actually Charizard with Moltres with sprinkling in Arcanine. The reason why this is a balanced deck is that it's not rapid fire coming out the gate, because you do need to evolve things to be able to start attacking, and you're not doing any damage during that time. So you are stalling out a little bit, but once you get what you need and you have all 5 pieces of Exodia, obliterate! Once you get all 5 pieces, Charizard can wipe out an entire map. 200 damage is nuts. It can destroy anything in one shot. So that deck is also doing very well in tournaments as well. So these 3 decks are the most consistent from my experience of battling, and just in recent results. The last one I will say, honorary mention, you can't forget your boy. It's, well, technically your girl, Misty. The internet is memeing very hard right now with Misty and the coin flips. The amount of anime, scenes I've seen, and just people have made amazing. Shout out to the internet. The Misty memes are crushing it right now. So Misty is really good because it is also a basic evolution or a small evolution with Starmie, and it only needs 2 energies, 2 to 3 energies, and it's doing a lot of damage. It's hitting things very strong. The only thing is, I will say, is that it does rely on Misty flipping heads. If you get tails, those are probably the fastest concedes I see, because they don't get their game plan going, right? And if you don't get Misty going, it's not as offensive. It actually just sits there and takes a little bit of time to get going. So that is the reason why it's inconsistent, why I wouldn't consider it meta per se, but it's very close. It's definitely hovering around that area. The best anti-meta deck in the game, Blaine. I know, it sounds crazy, but hear me out. Ninetales only needs 2 energies. Rapidash only needs 1 energy. Arcanine EX in the back, just in case, needs 3, but you don't use it all the time. You're using Ninetales and Rapidash most of the game. Why? Because with Blaine, you can one-shot Pikachu EX at full HP.
Oh my God!
What else do you need to know? Mewtwo is trying to get all, Gardevoir's on the side cheerleading. Doesn't matter. 90 damage, 120 damage from Ninetales, 40 damage, 70 damage from Rapidash. How can you keep up? They get going like this. So those are the 2 main decks that it takes down. With Charizard, Moltres is kind of even, right? They kind of go back and forth. But you can take down, like, Moltres doesn't do any damage back. So if you can get going, you can take out Moltres, cause chaos, Sabrina when you need to, and just break down the deck. So those are the top 3 meta decks at the end of the day. That's why I believe this is the best anti-meta deck. The reason why I have Arcanine in there is just in case you run into a Misty. At the end of the day, Misty is a very hard deck to beat with this one. Again, it's technically not meta. It's like right outside that kind of meta space. So it does counter this deck. But I mean, Arcanine with a Giovanni, it does one-shot Misty's Starmie. Another custom build, a little custom anti-meta. These are the things that get me fired up. No pun intended. Like, I want to hand out burn heals.
Oh,
That's how good this deck is. So it's anti-meta for a reason. I believe it's the best deck for it. There's another anti-meta deck I want to mention. This one is the combination of Koga, Weezing, Wigglytuff, and Arbok all on one team. They work really well together. They synergize very well because Weezing does the poison thing. It swaps out with Koga. Arbok comes in and traps Pokemon. So I think trapping, is very underrated. It's not really given to a lot of Pokemon in this game. Arbok's actually the only one right now. So the fact that it can trap you, it stops the game. It stops the chaos, if you will, that's coming. The switching out that's happening, it stops that. And then you have Wigglytuff that comes in and sleeps. So it's a nice mixture of stall. It's a defensive typing of an archetype, but it's really good. And Arbok can 2-shot Mewtwo, which is why it's considered anti-meta. It pretty much washes psychic decks, and it can get Pikachu kind of flustered too because Pikachu can't switch. Pikachu can't one-shot back. There's a lot of reasons why the deck works well. So yeah, very good anti-meta for sure. I thought I got everything. Pro tip: poison and sleep stack. What? Poison and sleep stack. That means you can hit somebody with 2 status effects at the same time. So wheezing comes in, poisons you, you Koga, you swap out and full restore your wheezing. If you know, you know. And now all of a sudden, Wigglytuff comes out, puts you to sleep, and as you're flipping coins just to try to wake up from your sleep, the poison never went away. So every turn you're taking poison damage while you're fighting to wake up to either leave or attack. I mean, that's crazy. That got me through a lot of my early games. Like first, like 1 to 200 wins was Tentacruel and Frostmoth because they're just water types that could just do poison and sleep. Still a deck that I have to this day. It's still really good and really fun to use. So keep that in mind. Pro tip: utilize that however you want. But yeah, this is another anti-meta deck that's doing pretty well. Part 3, the final part: strategies and tips that help me be more consistent to win. A, manage your energy. What you thought was plan A may not actually be your plan A. So be ready to pivot your energies from your main Pokemon to another Pokemon instead so that you can win the game. So just keep that in mind, is that you may want to be just more flexible and not oversaturate your energies in the wrong direction. B, educate yourself on the entire game and not just the meta. You don't want to be a clone of the meta. Obviously, it helps to win games, but at the end of the day, if you understand the entire game, you're truly an expert. If the meta changes, you're not an expert anymore. You just keep changing. You're like a meta clone. You keep changing with the meta. So keep that in mind, is that there's variations, there's cards that come out that are even exist now that may not be good, but will be really good later. So just keep that in mind. Any gamer knows this, that there's always buffs, there's always nerfs, and there's always wild cards that can alter the game. So you'd rather be ahead of the curve than to get hit by the wave. Oof. Bars. Oof. C, play out games even when you think you're losing. Why do I say that? Because at the end of the day, you can't train luck. Luck is just something that just happens. But if you train your game time decision making or your skill set of becoming clutch, that's a lot more useful and you can use it in future games. So when you get into these tight situations or tough predicaments, or you're in a corner, if you train that skill to get out of that corner, you're going to be ready to win more games when those situations come up. You'll be better under pressure. So even though sometimes it might look dooming, it might look like you're going to auto lose, don't quit too early, and just try to find a winning play, even if it's longer down the road in the game. D, Sabrina is the best card in the game. Don't at me. What does that mean with the guy with the table? It's always like, change my mind. You can't. Sabrina's the best card. The reason for that, Sabrina can do 2 things. It can defensively slow down your opponent. It can also offensively put you in a position to win. So save your Sabrina for when you actually need it. Don't just auto throw it out just because it's a card in your hand. And I'll give you examples. For defense, let's say a Mewtwo is about to be fully charged. So you just switch it to another Pokemon to give you time to get more cards in your hand to do something else. It gives you time to set up a plan. On the flip side, on the offensive side, your opponent, let's say, fully sets up a Charizard and it's about to finish the game. You can pivot Charizard out of the way, take out something that's on the bench, let's say like a Charmander or a Charmeleon, take that out instead and get your final point. You don't even have to even interact with the monster that is Charizard EX. So hold on to it, have it ready. If your deck can be ready for it, have 2. But yeah, just depends on the situation. But Sabrina is always useful. Last but not least, E, don't let losing get to your head. It's not that serious. It's just a game at the end of the day. Professionals, experts, people who play years and years, whatever it is, lose. Everybody takes L's. It's just a matter of what you do with them that makes you into a winner or not. So go back to the drawing board, study the craft, get better over time, and just practice. That's all you can really do. And hopefully you can find your wins. And that's everything. If you stuck around until the end, thank you so much. You have officially learned everything that I've learned. Choking up. Oh man, this is a hard goodbye. But I gotta let you go. You're a champion now. You just gotta go. Just forget me. Forget us. Forget Pokemon. Forget Giovann V. Just go. Just go. You're a champion now. Okay? I feel like I just gave birth. That's what Michael Jordan's mom felt like. Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, so yeah, so I just want to say thank you. If you like this type of content, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know if you like stuff like this. We'll do more Pokemon TCG Pocket, and yeah, the game is hot right now. So I'm still playing. I think I'm literally at 1,200 wins currently at the time of the video. I think even the Celebi deck has just come out. Like the Celebis are out there raining havoc. So we'll see how the meta develops after that. But yeah, down to keep doing this. If you want more videos like this, let us know. And as promised, here is the breakdown of my no EX double energy deck that does very well actually against even the top meta decks. So again, thank you so much. And here you go. Here's the breakdown. As you can see on the screen, here it is. Bang. So it is 2 full lines of Jolteon Eevee, 2 full lines of Greninja, and 2 Kangaskhan's, what I believe is the best non-EX basic Pokemon, period. It's just 1 energy and it's doing all this damage and has a lot of health. So super good. And then as far as support, as far as trainer cards, you have 2 potions for health to survive, 1 X speed for mobility, 2 Pokeballs, 2 Professor's Research to draw cards, and 1 Sabrina when the time is right. This is a balanced archetype deck. The purpose is to get Kangaskhan out early so you can sponge hits, take damage, send out damage, all while you slowly get Jolteon and Greninja up and running in the back. Greninja can do damage from the bench, which is insane, and Jolteon can do up to 160 damage off just 2 energies, which is nuts. It is coin flips, keep in mind, but it's so good because Greninja is really good by itself, Jolteon's really good by itself, and they both are 2 energy Pokemon. So they can both take a water and an electric energy to do their move. So you can interchange, you can swap between the 2, you can easily switch between the 2. There's only 1 retreat cost. It's super fun. I love this deck. It can beat a lot of decks because water is really good and electric is phenomenal. It hits all 3 of the birds for super effective. So you can one-shot EXs, you can one-shot birds, you can snipe things from a distance with Greninja. It's just really good. It's very flexible of a deck. So let me know if you try out this deck. Let me know if you enjoy it. If you like custom builds like this, let me know. We can always do more of these. But yeah, I just wanted to send this out to everybody who saw the video. And yeah, that's everything. So again, Giovann V from Pokemon, fully signing off. I'll see you on the ladder.